Good evening and welcome to the Hendrick Hudson Board of Education meeting. Today is October 11th, 2017. Can we please stand up and pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and thank you for joining us. People in the audience, people at home, we appreciate it. Can I please have a motion to accept the
agenda?
I know that.
She wrote all over it.
I wrote all over it. I can't read it. The agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
And can I please have a motion to accept the consent agenda, or does anybody have anything that they want pulled?
I'd like 2 items just tabled for future just review. Just had a couple questions. It would be professional personnel agenda 5 and 8.
All right.
And
Then can I have a motion to...
5 and 8.
Oh, I thought you said and after
Nope.
that.
No,
Just make
5 and 8. All right. Can I then have a motion to accept the consent agenda with the items pulled?
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
That's it. That's it. Superintendent's report?
Well, what just happened is the board approved some other personnel tonight, and one of them is our new Executive Director of Pupil Personnel, Lisa Shipman. So that's Lisa. Lisa comes to us from Southern Westchester BOCES, where she was in 2 different positions and moved up the ladder and was promoted internally. And as the board knows, this was a very exhaustive search. We did 2 searches. Lisa interviewed in front of over Lisa interviewed in front of over 2 dozen staff. And I think altogether she had about 4 different interviews. So, and we called many references, some of which she gave us and others which she didn't. So we want to make sure we.
So she's got stamina.
She has stamina, and she is going to do outstanding work for us. Carol and Barbara represented the board on the committee a couple weeks ago, and we're very excited and honored to have Lisa join Hendrick Hudson. So Lisa, if you want to say a couple words and introduce yourself.
Good evening. I almost said afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to start. Actually, I'm starting next Thursday to come for a day in the district, and it's already packed full. So I'm very excited to join your community, your school, and your team. So thank you so much, and I look forward to a great relationship.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Having you here.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yes, we're very excited. We're very happy. So it's hopefully will be a wonderful fit for us.
And you will be spending every other Wednesday with us as well, somewhere between Corey, Margaret, and Matthew. So you'll be at the big kids table. So we look forward to that as well. So welcome.
Okay, committee reports?
Oh, let me give a couple. I'm sorry. Let me give a couple more updates under
I
superintendent's
know
report.
we're so excited.
Earlier this week, but yesterday, most people received in the mail the on-board newspaper furnished by the School Boards Association. We had essentially a full, I was going to say full-page ad, it pretty much was, full-page report on the impact of the closure of Indian Point. I think it's garnered a lot of attention. I know I'm hearing from people who I've worked with over the course of my career saying, A, they didn't know, B, holy crap, and C, good luck. So that
tie. No.
yeah, right. That newspaper and online edition goes to over 100,000 recipients throughout the state, so we're certainly getting people's attention. I mentioned at 8 o'clock tonight I'm going to try to scoot out. At 7 o'clock earlier this evening, there's an opioid crisis presentation at the Hendrick Hudson Free Library put on by the county and some other county agencies. They're going on tour throughout various communities in Westchester County with a panel of professionals and doing a Q&A, talking about the crisis and what communities can do to assist. Another great effort by the county and by the town of Cortland have put up significant funds, and they've involved a lot of our staff in the planning. So one of those unfortunate things to go to, but it's very, very real, not just in our community, but throughout the state, throughout the nation, really.
Was that a community?
Yeah, it's through the Cortland Coalition and the county and a couple other agencies. So through the Health and Rec Department, through the town, and a couple of our staff sit on that committee, Angela Alvarado and Lisa Albanese from the middle school and high school. So they sit on a steering committee and help shape some of that work. I don't know when this will be published, but coming soon to the Journal News will be a story on Ramona, our therapy dog here at the high school. The Journal News came in today and did an interview with Ramona, and then ended up talking to humans. So that story is pending, and as soon as that's out there, I'll forward everyone a link. Tomorrow, Senator Murphy will be at Frank G. Elementary School around noon to talk about healthy lunches. So I'm really interested to see what the kids have to say
I
to the senator.
would be very interested to hear that.
About
do want them to
health and taste and enjoyment, but the senator wanted to go on tour to a number of schools in his district to talk about the state initiative around healthy lunches, and that's it.
May I add on to something
Yeah.
related to Ramona?
Oh, sure.
So just to let everybody know, we have started a relationship with Blue Path. That is the company that trains dogs to work with autistic children. It was a split from Guiding Eyes for the Blind. And they visited Blue Mountain last Friday, and Caroline and her puppies, who need to be socialized, will be regular visitors in our ABC classes across the district.
Awesome.
But also getting into just regular classrooms as time goes by. So everybody's very excited about that. I had to fight them off to see who would get it first. So hopefully it'll be a long-lasting relationship. So.
Cool.
Okay, communities?
I went to the VV PTA meeting. Upcoming events that they have is they've got their Family Fun Day and Carnival on October 21st. Should be a very fun day from noon to 4. They had a really great event just prior to the PTA meeting with they're calling their what is the name of that? Where they have
Showcase.
Showcase. There we go.
Yep.
Showcase. They had the showcase where they were building things with paper and trying to see who could build the firmest structure and then put a book on top of it to see how much weight it could support. It's very exciting, and the kids really seem to be very into it. I think it's great. And I wasn't able to go to the Furnace Woods PTA meeting. It was the same night as something else they had going on, but they do have their fall fair coming up on October 28th, again from 11 to 4. So anybody who can swing by there and support that, we'll plug for it. For both events, they'll do really great. And there's a pumpkin pops coming up too.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yep.
2 weeks. So.
That's right. Yeah, I went to Frank G. Lindsay PTA last night, and they are continuing with the Anthony's Nose trip, but it's going to be a PTA trip as opposed to a 5th grade trip that it used to be. And they're opening it up to all ages of children can go along with it. It's going to be, I believe, on November 4th. Time, they were still talking about getting a good time because they didn't want it to interfere with sports events or anything else.
Is it a weekend or a...
It's on a Saturday. It's on a Saturday, so families can participate. Also, there were 2 grants giving out, one to Janine Hafman for some things for her classroom that she had wanted from the workshop that she had attended this summer, and another one to Todd Leonardo, who's going to do something with online journal and classroom journal. So those were the 2 things, and tomorrow is safety meeting, and that's
Do you know who the grants came from?
PTA.
Oh, they were from the
They're PTA grants.
Very nice.
So, yes. Yep. Okay. Policy readings. We have our first reading. Employee children in the workplace, number 9119.
So this is a little goofy. We have 2 options. This is a brand new policy, and it comes after a lot of really inconsistent practice in the district. There are many times where we are in school and other districts are not, and staff oftentimes ask their supervisor to bring their child to work and participate in the day's activities and so on and so forth. And it's really become an issue around consistency, reliability. I could go on. And when we looked at our policies over the summer, we realized we didn't have one to this effect. So the policy committee met last week and looked at a very sort of standard two-liner policy that was endorsed by a neighboring district, and we wanted to spell out with just a little more specificity 2 different options for the board to consider. Again, this is a first reading, so we don't have to adopt anything, but any feedback would be helpful. What we really wanted to capture was children in the workplace during the contractual time, during the instructional time, those sort of things, to really zero in on when children should not be in the workplace.
Can you explain the difference between a contractual day and when the students are there? What does the contractual?
So the contractual day is articulated by every employee contract, and it's different for all 5 of our schools and teachers based on the start and end time. But that is the time that they are essentially responsible and on the district clock. The second option talks about instructional day, where sometimes we would have a half a day for students, and students would go home and staff would remain, or we would have a day of no children, but it would be considered an instructional day for teachers, for example, the first 2 days of school, August 30th and 31st. Well, they're both, but this one, the instructional one, gets into when kids are in the building or not, students in the
Correct, but
building.
I mean, if you're saying that they're all contract, I mean, the teachers aren't.
No,
But I'm saying if the teachers, I understand it's if the kids are in school or not. I think that's the
Correct.
distinction.
Yes.
But I mean, if you've got parents who are supposed to be, teachers, who are also parents, who are supposed to be staff, who are supposed to be in, working with other teachers, I mean.
Becomes a supervision issue, becomes a
Yeah,
liability
I think
issue.
it's a big issue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a distraction.
But it used
I mean,
to
if
be,
you're-
Mary Pat, and I don't mean to interrupt, but if the bus sometimes, let's say your child went to another elementary school and you were still working, your kids had, left, whatever, and you were there just after school doing things, that you had to, and your kids would be dropped off at your elementary school. I don't know if they still do that. Do they still allow that, Enrique?
I'm not aware of any.
Is that part of the
Okay.
contractual day, or those?
That
teachers just
that would
staying
have
after
been
to
part
catch up on their
of
homework?
children receiving instruction. So
You
that
mean-
after the children had finished their day, teachers would still be staying because their contractual day would go till, let's say, 3:30. And this would be at 3:15, children
Yeah,
would
we
drop
don't allow
off.
that.
That
We
doesn't
don't-
happen anymore.
In transportation, that would be a son of a teacher that is in the district.
And that
The
doesn't happen
transportation is
anymore.
very clear.
Yeah.
We take you home, we take you to school. We don't take you, all.
Emotionally you're around.
No, but I
Right,
don't think
but
those-
sometimes when high school kids would be done with high school, if their mothers worked at the school, right, they would walk down to Frank J.
Ah,
But their kids in the school,
But they shouldn't be there.
their kids
But
in
Yeah,
that's
I don't
what
know.
we're
I
saying.
wouldn't know.
That's the
Frank J.
contractual day versus.
No, but they're saying like a high school
receiving
kid.
but they're
Yeah.
still enrolled in the school.
And I'm
No,
not
but
familiar
it's-
with any of those
Current
instances.
students in the
They are
class.
poor
I don't think that's
students.
Or the-
enrolled
yeah,
lately.
or
Well, I
the
think then
intent.
that needs to be,
There's
that's,
been issues where the employee's home district either has a half day or has no school, but the employee's kids are being brought here.
To supervise.
When we have our kids here.
But we want to write the policy so that it covers the eventuality, so we don't have to keep tweaking it every
Right.
time there's some other issue that comes up.
And
Right.
we also talked about allowing for teachers that maybe want to come to an event with their children, but they don't have responsibility for the children at the time, so it shouldn't preclude them from attending
Like
those
a
events with their
evening,
family.
Right, like
late
a
afternoon,
concert
evening
or-
function.
Sometimes
So
they're
we're trying to block, we're trying to
restaurants
carve
or
out.
something.
yeah, but if a teacher
time
is
frame.
responsible, like a fifth grade teacher, for example, and it's the fifth grade the holiday concert, And I appreciate that, but if you're bringing your own fifth grader, that kid, you're responsible for your class still. Isn't that your, I mean, that's,
That could be
you know,
considered
you're on the clock.
That
you know
could
what I
be
mean?
considered a
It's-
contractual
But
responsibility.
that's what I'm
and we
saying.
could
I mean,
argue
if
it
you're
would fall
supposed to
under
be
the first
taking
one.
care of your students, and I appreciate there are instances, but it's sort of, I think it's a tremendous, I think it's a distraction if you have your child who's maybe also, you know, sitting in the back, just sort of, or just there. I think that's, as a parent, I would think that's a distraction because you're worried about, you know, your child and your students, and you can't even clump them together and say, you know, just because it doesn't work that way. You've got a responsibility to your students at that time, and that's. But that's.
So
I think it becomes, you know,
No, I understand it's difficult, but
So we
I,
could tweak them to include, and this
you don't
would-
bring your kids to work while you're like, you know, you're certain you're
you know, we could
putting your
tweak
kid
them
taking
to
care of
say,
that. I mean,
to include, you know,
my kids were working.
when a
You
teacher
shouldn't,
is
though. You
responsible or
shouldn't.
supervising
Your
students, so it goes
responsibility.
on those
Right,
Right,
instances
that's
beyond
the
the
wording
day.
that we talked about.
Yeah.
It's the times where they're not responsible for the students. You don't want to preclude them
Yeah.
from coming to an event
Right.
with their family. But if they're responsible for students, I think what we agreed was
Yeah.
they should be
Right.
watching the
So-
students, not.
so the
their children.
contractual,
You need to work
is
on
that,
this.
is that the
Yeah, we
verbiage?
can
Well,
get a
that's
little,
what we defer to. You know, if you think that contractual is the right word, that would cover any event where they are responsible for the children
Right.
in the school,
Right,
then that's the right word.
right.
Yeah, but I think you have to have some definition. I mean, we're sitting here
From
and
beyond
it's
the
not clear,
contractual
and
day.
it's. I think you need to. I think there
We'll
needs to
take
be
another
better,
crack at it.
like with the language,
Yeah.
just a little
Okay.
more clarity.
Right. The second policy is a first reading revision of our computer use policy. This came to us through an interesting avenue. One of our neighboring districts was audited by the state controller, and this was a technology audit where they audit your physical assets and they audit your policies. And what this one audit had yielded was they recommended stronger language, for lack of a better term, to make sure that the policy spoke to staff use of technology during working hours. So we took their policy that essentially was demanded upon them to approve based on the audit, which was written by the same law firm that we use, and we tried to mirror it over our existing computer use policy. So in here somewhere are some changes that when Matthew did the crosswalk, where that language would be added. And Matthew, if you want to add any practical.
Yeah, sure. So it's really, it's sort of extending the language that was in there that was a little vague and clarifying it. Again, like Joe said, to comply with the audit that is probably coming, so that we're ahead of it, essentially. And basically, it's kind of related to the other policy. It's saying that when you're here, when you're working, you're expected to be working, not doing your personal business on your computers.
Sorry.
Um,
Didn't think that would be said.
One thing that is a little different, and you should be aware of this, on the second paragraph on the second page, it says incidental personal use of district-owned technology is not permitted during working hours except in emergency circumstances. That's a little more restrictive than the old language, which just said it didn't have the emergency purposes. So there's still a little wiggle room. If someone says, yeah, it's an emergency, my kid's bus went off the road and I need to go, and, that's still a little wiggle room. It's not that set in stone, but it's a little more restrictive.
And this policy does not cover the use of personal technology. If someone
No.
wants to use their cell phone
Right.
during the day, is there any kind of
Why would you
policy
need to?
around, that
You
you
don't
focus
have a
on
personal
children
computer.
versus, you don't want substitute teachers at home.
Right. So
Bring your
all
laptop.
day.
we don't really have jurisdiction over that. We sort of do, but we sort of don't. And we've been told that you can't tell someone they can't use their own cell phone. So this is sort of And it's true, when we first wrote this policy, we didn't have the cell phones weren't so ubiquitous, so it was more, this was it. And now, if people need to get on a computer, they've got one in their pocket anyway.
Anybody else have any other comments?
Well,
This is a stupid question. So if a teacher is on a break, I don't even want to know if I want to ask this one again. They can't go Christmas shopping. So if you're at lunch, I can't
Not
use
on
a...
the district computer.
Why? Because usually sites that are not supposed to be are blocked.
No, we block very little.
No.
We don't block
need
shops.
Oh, that's
to be
here.
much
And
more-
a
That's
lot
here.
of stuff. So a lot of stuff gets through those web filters. They are not 100%.
No, I understand. That's my question, though. So a teacher is not allowed to, like, during the month of December.
Or November.
So the
November.
language is during working
Or
hours.
even January.
Get those
So
sales.
during a prep is working hours.
Right.
During lunch is not.
I would like to think that people
So my
are
question
smart
remains.
That's the answer.
So you
You're
can
on
So
go.
you're saying
lunch
you
is-
can go shopping
is
during
your
lunch,
time.
but
No,
but
but
it
you
doesn't.
Yeah, but it's
necessarily-
still a district owned.
Yeah.
But it
computer.
defeats the issue, though. The issue is what might be down, what might come on with the viruses. Isn't that's what you were
Well, it's not.
suggesting?
So
Not.
viruses.
What,
I mean,
but I'm
viruses
saying
are
the
part of
the
it.
stuff that's coming up. I mean, that's not. If you're doing it at like noontime, it's still going to happen. If
That-
that's what you're trying
that's
to
Only
not
because
prevent.
Yeah,
only
it's
'cause you'll
not.
get that question. Besides the fact this is not disseminated
was
to
trying to
staff, they
prevent-
won't even know this because I don't know how it gets through to them. But when we do policies that affect personnel in the district, are they even aware of them? So will this be sent out to all staff?
Yes, it will.
You promise?
I will. I always
Because
do.
And
because
you
most of the
also-
time, if you ask a teacher or a staff
Yes.
member, they'll say, "Do we have a policy?" Like, I don't know. I've never even looked at a policy.
That doesn't mean it'll be read, but I'll send it. Yeah.
That's their fault if they don't read it. But so as a very generic question, for instance, at my say I'm a teacher here, or a secretary, or a director of technology, can I Christmas shop during lunch?
Yes, because it says incidental personal use during non-working hours is permitted.
Okay,
And keep in mind,
But-
anything they do on the technology can be monitored.
absolutely.
Oh, yes, and
I know that.
so-
I'm in a school.
Watch where you
there's-
shop.
Watch where you shop.
Yeah. So
I would like to think that most people, if they were doing Christmas shopping, would use their
That's
own
just like for an example.
technology to do it. That my personal feeling as a former teacher in this district that was on computers, I
Use your
would like
tablet.
to be hopeful that that's how people would behave.
yeah, there's really not a lot of risk to the network and us because we're allowing it. So the time that you allow it doesn't really matter. Your risk profile doesn't change. So it's
I
not
know,
a matter.
but I
it's
know
not
that would be a
matter-
question.
Yeah, so really
I
this
was
is
wondering
more
what
of
the
a
purpose was.
productivity. You don't want people using
Okay.
our equipment to be hacking into other computers
Correct.
or do
That's
things that
happened
are illegal because it's, if you want to do something that's illegal, you're going to use someone else's computer to do so you can't be traced. So, that's what we're
Everything
trying to
can be
prevent against.
traced.
So the question is,
It's
we
frustrating.
we can bring any changes back in 2 weeks. We could theoretically approve it tonight if you want because it's a revision, or if you want to keep it on the agenda for another 2 weeks, we can do that as well.
Matthew, and this has already been, because when we had our policy meeting, you said that we were going to have this meshed, and
This
you
is-
did the walkover, and this was all
is
together.
this is the
Because we were
crossover.
saying, don't we already have this policy?
Yeah, I
Right.
would I would bring it back just for no other reason, but that you who are on policy committee were confused about what this covers, so maybe there needs to be a little more clarity.
Well, this was after, because we knew that Matthew was going to go into
I'm
mesh the
just
two together.
throwing that out
what
there.
we did is we sent the committee
So let's
the
bring it-
policy
yeah,
from
let's bring it
the
back.
district,
Right.
and just what they adopted in response to the comptroller's
Bring
audit.
it back.
Sure.
Bring it back. That's
First
it.
reading,
Okay.
anyway.
Audience comments? Nothing? Okay. Then can I please ask if any board members have comments they would like to add? No? Good. Okay. Can I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.